What's good? This TLove, the audio engineer. You now tapped in with In the Box with Lil 918. Let's go.
All right, TLove, how's your process whenever you engineer a client song? You ain't got to give us all your little sauce and your little, secrets, but your little process from start to finish.
Man, so depending on the artist, whether they rapping, if it's rap artists, just import the beat. I already have like a template that I kind of go off that I built my own. A lot of engineers, they go on these YouTube channels and to these engineers, these top engineers that sell their templates and stuff like that, and they use that as a crutch. Now what I do is I built my own template.
Okay.
And it got my own EQs in there to my settings, to my likings, and then I just adjusted depending on the artist, whether it's like if it's a male, I can have, a little bit more low end frequencies, female, I cut out a little bit of, low end frequencies and stuff like that, but I just adjusted and tailor it to who I'm working with at the time. And then I have some reverb on the track, and then I just tell the artist, go in there, do your thing, man, and we just record. Some artists like to, I call it just floated, where you just rap the whole thing nonstop. You also got artists that like to punch in, where you do line by line. My personal, what I like out of that line by line versus just floating it, I like the line by line because it gives the artist a chance to perfect their vocals. If you like just run it nonstop, depending on how comfortable you are and stuff and how experienced you are, if you don't really have that much experience, when you just run it, you hear slight imperfections. Like, you might slur a word, or you might,
be breathing to a.
Yeah, I mean, but we can edit out breaths. You know what I'm saying? Just and then some breaths are kind of abrupt, like you dealing with like a 400-pound person in the booth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it just depends. You know what I'm saying? But I forgot the question. I forgot that.
The question was your client's process from like pretty much A to Z whenever you got them in the booth. Pretty much.
So, but yeah, when I'm working with like rappers, it's simple, straight, record, light effects, not too much. Might throw a delay in there that's tucked so they barely can really like hear it, but it gives it like a little feeling. You know what I'm saying? Okay. When I'm working with R&B artists or singers, some artists like auto-tune. I might load the auto-tune up on the track, and the key of the beat, it corresponds to the auto-tune setting, and I'll set it to where the artist can, hear themselves with the auto-tune. I prefer the artist to record with auto-tune versus recording it dry and then putting the auto-tune on there, for the simple fact of when you record with it, you are able to hear what it's doing to your vocals in real time. If you record without it, you don't know how it's gonna sound when you just drag and drop the auto-tune on there, and it might take your notes from like 100 semitone up, and then it'll snap it all out of whack, and then so you can hear like it snapped you out of the key, so to speak. So I like to tell artists, man, record with auto-tune, so therefore you can hear what it's doing to your vocals in real time, and it give you a sense of correction. Like you can correct it in real time versus waiting until we recorded a whole dry track, put it on there, and you saying, yeah, that part right there was too pitchy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing that you mentioned the real time. Because my experience with auto-tune, I know that they have two different plugins. They have some that where you can just only slap it on afterwards, and if you try to run it through a bus and do it, it's gonna be all choppy and delayed, and you can't do it.
Yeah, and
then they got the real time.
You deal with a lot of sessions deal with a lot of latency. Latency is where the time it takes from your computer to go through your interface to your headphones to the mic, and then as you're recording, your vocals going into the mic, back into the interface, into the computer, and it's being delayed. And so it's natural to have like a little bit of latency to where you can't tell that it's a little bit like delayed, but it with those plugins like auto tune, they can tax your computer and they can create a whole bunch of latency. So when an artist is recording, they'll sound off in their headphones and it'll mess them up. And then,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but some auto tune plugins, you got Waves Real Tune, you got Antares Auto Tune. They have a setting on there where you can do low latency mode. You know what I'm saying? Where it'll try its best to cut down on latency. Therefore, you won't have to hear that in the playback. When you record. So yeah.
Well said. Well said.